Israel's law of return allows for Jews to go to Israel, claim Israeli citizenship, and get a second passport. An Israeli passport's actually not a bad travel document. It's nearly a Tier A passport. And so a gentleman recently came to me, and I was kind of surprised when he asked, "Do you think I should go and claim my Israeli citizenship?" I'm going to tell you my thoughts right now. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson. Here at Nomad Capitalist, we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where they're treated best. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. And as a rule, we've talked about this before, I generally accept free second citizenship. So if I have an ancestor, or if I am married, or whatever situation, I have a child born in the country and I'm entitled to a residence or to a citizenship, I will generally claim those if they are free. People have come, they've heard me talking about future taxation issues in countries like Spain and Italy, and I've had people say, should I get my Italian passport? And I've said, yeah, I would get it. I suppose there's a chance in the future you might want to get rid of it, but it's free. You can either hire someone like Nomad Capitalist, pay a few bucks, or you can do it yourself and just handle the paperwork and the bureaucracy. Either way, it's going to cost you a little bit of money or a little bit of time, and you're going to have to wait a while. Not a bad deal. The exceptions to those have been sanctioned countries, blacklisted countries. I know someone who married an Iranian, went to Iran, got his citizenship. I said I wouldn't have done that, and so we've talked about the small handful of countries where I wouldn't accept their citizenship for free. I can see why some would make a case to put Israel in that basket. Certainly it is controversial. And when I've talked to some folks from the United States who are looking to expatriate, and they look at being Jewish and being able to have an Israeli passport, it's very tempting. Just as one example, because you're getting an almost equal quality travel document. You can't go back to the US. I believe Israelis need a visa to go to Australia as well, but for the most part, you can travel all over the world, plus some countries that Westerners can't, like Russia. And so what they do feel uncomfortable about is, the US certainly has a lot of its detractors around the world. People roll their eyes anywhere to, people outright want to kill you in a few places in the world if you're an American, and I suppose Israel is not much better. I think the good things are, again, you're getting a really good travel document. You're getting a place that I really think, if you're Jewish, it is a home. It's a place where you can go and you can belong. And, having a spouse who is partially ethnic Armenian, and when I met her, I said, you qualify for this citizenship. She didn't understand it at first, but when she got it, she said, you know what? Finally, I can come here. I grew up in a country where people always identified me. When they found out my name, they always said, you're the Armenian. Now she said, I have a place where I can go, and everyone has a name, like my maiden name, and everyone, understands me. And there's a niceness to that. In the world of global citizenship, it's nice to have a place where you feel welcome, where everyone knows your name, as it were. And I think that Israel offers that. It offers you a good passport. What I also think is, in a world where taxes are going crazy, certainly Israel has not been a low-tax country. I've known Israelis, and they've told me that. And so when people mention, I'm afraid to get the passport because of the high taxes, that is not the issue, because you're not really going to go and live for the rest of your life in Israel. If you became a taxpayer in Israel, a tax resident, then you would pay as a tax resident. But if you're just claiming the citizenship, then that's not really going to be an issue. And what I like about a country like an Armenia, like an Israel, like an Ireland, that has a history of emigration, that encourages people. I would say China is not a perfect example of this, but they encourage people to go out and live in other places, spread the brand, bring back information. I think a country like that's going to have a very hard time culturally, forget legally, but culturally, having any kind of citizenship-based taxation. The United States is the opposite of these countries. People are immigrating historically to the United States, and so therefore they say, well, everyone wants to come here, so you should be so proud to be one of us. But if you are attracting your ethnic Armenians, your ethnic, if you're attracting Jews, if you're attracting ethnic, whatever, and that's a large industry, and that's part of your identity, I think that taxation is going to be more difficult. And so for this challenges that I would see of saying, if you want to go to Malaysia, if you want to go to Indonesia, if you want to go to some of the Arab countries, well, you have another passport. And so if you are from Israel, chances are you have a chance to get a passport from somewhere else. I know many people who've gotten, Polish passports, for example, they're Israeli. And so you can have a second passport and use that one in the other places. But if you're saying, should I claim Israel as my second passport, third passport, whatever, I'm not going to give anyone blanket advice because I don't know everyone's situation. There certainly are some small situations where Israeli passport could get you into some trouble, and depending on where you're doing business, obviously Israel has its own policies on where you can and should travel. And so you've got a little bit of an issue there. For the average person, I would say it's probably a better deal than not to take that passport. And it continues my trend of saying that unless I'm going to be put in serious jeopardy, unless I'm going to become a pariah in the international financial world, unless I'm going to become seen as some kind of terrorist, I'm probably going to claim that passport. Obviously, there are detractors of Israel. Some people will see you as a terrorist, but in a global sense, I don't see the issue, and I would probably go and claim that passport if it were me. Now for the rest of the bad. Obviously, one of the big things with Israel is mandatory military service. So depending on how old you are, you may be getting yourself into that with citizenship, man or woman. It's one of the unique countries where it does not make a difference. Either way, if you plan on having children and want them to be Israeli, they're going to be serving in the military, so that is certainly an issue. And that's one that you have to consider. And so it's not like some countries where you throw a few bucks, whether legally or almost legally, at them and you get out of military service. It is a thing. You're joining the military. Obviously, there may be, depending on your business, some countries where you want to go that are going to be challenging as an Israeli, either because of Israel's policies or because of other countries' policies. I would suggest that for a country like Malaysia, which we talk about a lot, I know a lot of people who are even born in Israel, that is their first citizenship, and they were able to obtain citizenship by descent in Poland, for example. And so if they wanted to go to Malaysia, they could go there as a Polish citizen. There are certainly some countries that are going to be a bit more controversial, and so you have to take that into account. What is your need to be in the Arab world? What are your business connections? What have you? But in general, I think Israeli citizenship probably improves your situation in that you're not adding all the tax complications of a U.S. passport. You are certainly adding some of the stigma that comes with a controversial passport, but in the context that you're not going to become an international pariah to the banking system or have your movement restricted. It's a good passport. I think there's some benefits that come with it. You have to evaluate your own situation as always and your needs for travel, where you need to be, what you want, military, all that. But overall, if you can get around and wrap your head around those issues, I would say that for most people, it's probably a good get. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.